I'm unnecessarily comfortable in this spot, which I don't mind. But it just feels, at this moment, a bit of a waste if I were to not say anything. Because it's the type of comfort I'm feeling at this moment where words would just flow naturally. And I finally remembered a topic that I wasn't supposed to forget, that I had meant to speak on. It's something I notice about places I go to, certain places I go. There's the word vibe is actually a lot deeper than a lot of people realize, is what I've noticed. As a secondary topic, I want to also talk about noticing things that it's uncommon to see it, or it's harder to notice, not even understand, like with a big brain. But I mean just more to feel, but it's deeper than feeling it, like the way you feel hungry or something. Like a vibe. Like the vibe of a place is actually, it is an entire other dimension of feeling with the vibe. It is the sixth sense, whatever it is. It's like an electromagnetic, pheromonal something. And I struggled. I felt this feeling for years. And I even framed it, of course, when I was younger in a religious context, because it was the only context I was permitted to intellectually explore. But it outlasted my religious faith, and then I couldn't put a word. I was nowhere near close enough to intellectualizing it enough to be able to term it anything then. But I keep feeling it now. It's almost a daily thing. And I guess it's related to what some people would say is euphoric recall, which isn't something I know a lot about. But the term I've come up for this feeling that I get, I mean, well, I should describe the feeling, is that I get this like bodily, like this, it's like, it's a piece of the feeling that you have when you're in love with somebody. Right, like it's a piece of the feeling I get when I look back on some of the girls I've been with. Like, not that thing fully, but there's like something like that. When you pass through houses and like neighborhoods, even when you don't see people, and even when you pass through not even neighbors' buildings, you go across something even lightly developed, if it's inhabited, or if people pass through it, there's a feeling there that is distinct from the feeling you get going through the woods or the wilderness, which I also have done. To be truthful, I don't think I've ever gone to straight up wilderness, but definitely remote, abandoned stuff. Definitely like undeveloped stuff. I mean, that feeling isn't there. This feeling of like this warmth, this like organized type of like togetherness, but this like it's so filamentatious. I'm saying like so often because the closest word I can come up to with it is personness. And maybe there is an actual term, and I'm just grasping for it. I'll replace it, but I'll replace personness with whatever it's actually called. But personness to me is like the evidence that not only were people here and people were doing stuff, but that there's this field of influence by people constantly showing up to these places, and also that these places were designed ever so lightly, ever so subtly, with the thought that other people will be using them and interacting with them. So it's a world that's untouched by the natural randomness of nature. Natural and nature. Well, everything is obviously natural. The randomness of the wilderness, really, like that we came out of and that we can't let go of. So that's what I mean by nature. I should say like the wild earth, the untouched wilderness. Like that type of randomness isn't with the personness. In a way, it's removed. It is refined. But it's abstracted to the point where the structures and everything that we are inhabiting now, it's alien to nature. It's becoming only more alien to nature, to the wilderness we came out of. That it's beginning to feel like a different place. This liminal spaces stuff is fascinating to me too, because I guess in theory they have always existed, but I don't know if there was ever this type of thought in the past where it like I can't say that obviously, but the idea of a liminal space, a space that someone passes through and doesn't stay near, that this is like a side effect of civic society, and the fact that like no one personally owns many of the places that they pass through. So you're just like a spaceship going by asteroids or something. You're a boat passing by archipelagos that you can't. Like it's a place that you are not supposed to put any thought into, like an empty stairwell or the stretch of sidewalk between a bus stop and a building. But it is not like this isn't a real place, and it isn't like any of that was built. None of it was built with the thought that no one will be here. And this I know sounds silly, but if something has been touched by human hands, it's detectable, and you don't need a telescope, microscope, spectrographic analysis, or anything. There's this sensation with these places, to me. When I was a lot younger, it was like I would feel this, like it was overwhelming to the point of like it would bring me to tears, like this, like warmth. this ism that I couldn't put my finger on. And it might boil down to hypersensitivity to smells, literally like you're passing through fields of pheromones and hormones from everybody. And I've mentioned that before, where like that's something that I for some reason am sensitized to. Interesting also that there's a lot of that work had been done at some point on a theory of pheromonal, basically like psychosis and that sort of thing as a pheromonal problem, where like you smell wrong no matter what, imperceptibly almost, but enough so that you never have a normal relationship with yourself somehow and with everything else. Obviously, it can't be solely boiled down to that. But I myself know that, behaviors have smells, and people don't believe me, but fear has a smell. Even. That is not a lie. Love has a smell. It does. If a woman really likes you, she smells different. I swear to God. I don't know if I could even prove this. But I'd be willing to bet there's proof out there. I'm more than willing to even participate in an experiment, because this isn't spoken of enough. Like we talk social cues and such, but people's their fields of influence that we project onto each other, that we're not even conscious of. That I guess if we were totally conscious of them, we would all just be too overwhelmed to go outside, right? But the personness of places, it isn't quaintness, because there isn't a word for it. I guess quaintness is something there, but that isn't it. It is like a love. I don't know how else to put it. It's like a love, or like an invisible kiss that surrounds your body just by being in some of these places. That I've mentioned before, and have gotten feedback from people about this. That I can sometimes, it's like feeling another time. Like you pass through a place and it's like you're getting a sense of else when. Like elsewhere, but else when. And people, I've had people tell me, oh, well, that's a psychic phenomenon, this and that, whatever it is, I can't get away from it. I go through it all everywhere I go, to think of it, if I concentrate long enough. Some places it's weaker than others. And I should mention again that it is baffling if I sit to think about it, that people believe in getting ahead of others in a world that it's only possible at all because of other people. You can't exclude other people. Everything exists because of other people, and I didn't make this clear in a previous video. I said that you exist. I didn't say it clearly enough. I meant to say that you exist, that we exist, because of careful workmanship and attention to detail and passed down skill over thousands of generations of organisms. That's why we still exist, because if it wasn't for craftiness, at the very least, if not craftsmanship, we wouldn't be here. We would have gone extinct. So the influence of other people, we cannot get away from it without, I mean, total destruction. We can't forget the value of it. We wouldn't have life now if it wasn't for people who cared about doing things correctly. Everybody. Because, I mean, classically, there were things that women were very good at that men weren't trained for. But craftsmanship it's not a male thing. It's like, I mean, even kids were taught craftsmanship. A lot of women had to sew, and I mean, I guess they weren't as likely to be a blacksmith, but everybody had to have some type of skill. I mean, even like the kids used to make crowns out of flowers and stuff like that. It was regular for everyone to know how to. If you didn't know how to do stuff, it was a big deal, and I mean, I guess people didn't know what to do with you. I think now, though, it's more common to find someone with no skill. It's impressive, like, when people are good with yo-yos. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like, I see so many less skateboarders and bicycle riders of any type than I did before. I mean, stuff looks less cool. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not, of course, a new talking point, but the blandness of modern design, it's like enough to make someone lose hope. I mean, especially if they don't read. I mean, I certainly don't read enough. I mean, I barely have hope. Sometimes it's like barely hope. But a good thing I remember the person is. There's something else. I had made 2 other videos that just were bungled. I might be able to wrap them up in this. It was about a feeling, again, of exclusion. The feeling of knowing that you are excluded, but when somehow it's a situation that involves others, not just the one person that you might be getting rejected by, or the group of friends you're being left out from. I have an early memory of feeling this as a I don't know, like 9 or 10 years, 8, 9 years old maybe, of just having a realization that I was being left out of a group of people that I was pretty desperate to be friends with at the time. There was just this feeling of like being the object that's invisible to someone. That feeling If you ever want to know why someone just tends to avoid socialization or has a tight sphere or doesn't, it might just seem like an asshole because they don't talk. I mean, it might be because that feeling continuously comes through over and over again when there's when they try and fail to make some not even to make to feel closeness. That is, for whatever, I mean, it's enough to make you really feel like it would never work. I mean, especially to feel it as an adult. I mean, dude, as a grown man too, there's not like that is something you just have to deal with quietly. I mean, if you're really attractive, it's different because you can just sort of step out of it. You could just like go to a restaurant or go to a bar, and it's like you could just step out of the schizoid isolation. You could just put on something nice and go somewhere, and it's like you're kind of released from it because people will just stare at you. Like you'll get attention without trying. And there's no way for me to describe any of this without sounding like a prick. Without just sounding arrogant. I mean, I'll say off rip, I'm not built. Like in that sense, I'm not sexy. I'm a string bean. I'm not short, but I'm not thick. I mean, I really I have my silhouette from the rear is feminine, and even from the front. So it's like I am pretty, and I found all of this out secondhand. Like my level of self-awareness was crushed up. Like I was like systematically like I wasn't allowed to think or feel certain things really. So it's like I came to realize, like logically, as I got older, that to certain people I was a problem, and to certain people I was an object of obsession. As you get older, you either you gotta figure out how to use that, or else you're just gonna be confused as to why dudes act crazy at you, and then why you don't have the same issues with women that a lot of people talk about, and it's it's not that I don't have issues. It's like it's the problems are different. You look a certain way, they will just assume you're on some sneaky shit. They'll assume you're trying to play games, and in some real weird way, they're less likely to take you serious. They feel like you're not. Well, I mean, I guess this whatever. A lot of chicks they don't feel like putting in the effort necessary to what they feel would be necessary to keep you around. They want to put in no fucking effort, and they don't feel like it's possible if you look good enough. I mean, That's as much as I can figure. You know, they feel like they could just lead an ugly guy along, I guess, to be rude. They feel like they could just tell him whatever. But I have noticed that they know that they know that you're more likely to be wanted by a bunch of people. So they know that if they mistreat you, you know, it's not like you don't have options. So then they know that they're not capable of treating you correctly. And they're not going to keep you around. I mean, maybe that's my schizo idea, but I'm not the only one who's come to that conclusion. I've heard other people say it. And it's also this weird, a lot of these, I mean, I know I'm not ugly because I don't hate women. You know, it's like I've never understood the vitriol and the hatred, seemingly literal. I mean, that a lot of dudes seem to have. Like a lot of these guys. It's one thing to goof on the opposite sex. Women do it about guys, and some of the stuff they say is hilarious, and it's true. But I mean, some of this is like it crosses the line from goofing into just like it stops being jokes. It stops even being humorous. It's like it really is just like a dude who is mad at that women, that every woman will not bow down and suck his cock. It's like I've had enough happen to me that I don't need to hate women. I get enough attention from everybody that I don't need to hate women. And I don't even get that much attention. But what attention I do get is overwhelmingly positive for the most part. So I mean, to me it seems jealousy is just a total waste of energy. Maybe it even in some way that feeling of exclusion, it is kind of like not a jealousy. It's you wanting that closeness so badly and knowing you can't have it. Like that heartbreaking shit. It is like a jealousy. Because even if it's not like like you romantically want this situation or the person, you want the closeness, or you want the inclusion. And to know you don't get that is that may be a type of jealousy. You know, like if you've ever been with someone who loves you, is that you can feel that they have this feeling like they want you all to themselves. That they want to make sure that you are always theirs. You know. Like to rest in the opposite of that. Like that feeling that you have the door closed in your face. Yeah, the opposite of that is to just. Yeah, well, I guess love.